That's such a great word to focus on in your devotional series. Relentless, something that you are in constant pursuit of. It's consistent. It's something that you're constantly doing. You're not going to give up. You're going to be relentless about it. So when you think about relentless and integrity, obviously we have to ask ourselves, what is integrity? Well, the true definition of the word is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. But growing up, I was always told that integrity was what you do when no one else is looking, doing right when no one else is around. So think about this for a moment. Throughout your day, you have plenty of opportunities, plenty of interactions to do the right things when others are not looking. Maybe through social media, maybe behind closed doors, maybe even within your friend group. It's quite possible you've never really thought about that before. Integrity is something that requires a relentless pursuit. It's not something that we're born with. It's something that we have to pursue and we have to be constant about. I once read a quote and it said this: "A person is not given integrity. It results from the relentless pursuit of honesty at all times." You see, relentless is part of integrity, a relentless pursuit of honesty. That's what we desire as God's people. That's what we want as followers of Christ. And oftentimes, our pursuit of honesty and integrity is shaped by God. It's shaped by the principles that we find in His Word. And we read about how He's called us to be people of integrity. It's a relentless because it is a never-ending pursuit. It's not, you don't just wake up one day and it's like, oh, I have integrity now, I don't have to keep pursuing that. No, because the devil is still there. Satan is still there tempting you, trying to get you to make choices in your life that aren't good. And so we want to establish strong, moral, godly principles that are so ingrained within us that when no one else is around, we are still living for God. And so in order to understand this idea, I want us to look at a specific example. In Genesis chapter 39, we see Joseph has escaped death by his siblings thanks to Reuben, and they sell him into slavery. They sell him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, who then take Joseph to Egypt. And in Egypt is when Potiphar meets Joseph. And Potiphar purchased Joseph and takes him to his house. Well, after a little while of working for Potiphar, Joseph finds favor with him and has impressed him so much that Potiphar puts him in charge of his whole house to oversee everything within his house. In verse 5, you see that he was put in charge of everything. Joseph was in a great position. Why would he want to mess that up? Well, enter Potiphar's wife, who's going to try to mess things up. And she develops an infatuation with Joseph. And at the end of verse 6, we're told that Joseph was handsome in form and appearance. He was easy on the eyes, as they say. And Potiphar's wife wanted to be with him. And so she would try to persuade Joseph to lie with her, as you read in verse 7, and would try this day after day in verse 10. You see, her pursuit of Joseph was relentless, but she was just kind of pursuing the wrong things. So can you imagine the pressure that's on Joseph to deny her advances on a daily basis? Every day try to push her away and say, you know, I don't really want that. That's not the right thing for me to do. In fact, in verse 9, you see he asked the question, how can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And that's a question that we need to ask as well. If we're thinking about relentless integrity, when we're in situations, we need to be asking that question as well. If I willingly and knowingly sin, how can I even consider this choice, this option? So the story ends with Potiphar's wife eventually being alone with Joseph, grabbing him by the garment to force him to lay with her and to give into her desires. Instead, Joseph flees, leaving part of his garment behind. And of course, Potiphar's wife is not going to tell the truth, because if she did, she would be the one in trouble. So she lies, and she gets Joseph in trouble. Potiphar becomes very angry and has him thrown into prison. So we look at this story, and I want us to ask the question, what can we learn about relentless integrity when it comes to Joseph? First of all, Joseph thinks beyond himself. Many failures of personal integrity begin with selflessness. We want what we want. And that doesn't, we just don't think about or concern ourselves with the consequences that might happen to other people. And so Joseph thinks of Potiphar and what it would do to him to have his most dedicated servant and the leader of all his household commit such an act of betrayal with his wife. Joseph thinks about his relationship with God and being true to his convictions. And he reminds Potiphar's wife that she's asking him to do a great wickedness. She's asking him to sin against God. And this is a far cry from what we are seeing today, where the mentality is, if it feels good, well, just do it. So being men and women of integrity means avoiding selflessness, avoiding the things that we want, and thinking about the consequences that it might have for other people, but also thinking about what God wants. Because as followers of God, when we commit our lives to Christ, we say, it's not about me anymore, but it's about you. And so we have to put that selfishness to the side. If it feels good, do it, is what our world says. But I submit to you, if it feels good, is it a godly choice that we're making? Secondly, Joseph takes steps to avoid danger. You're going to find yourself in situations sometime where your integrity will be challenged. And some of that, we have to decide, is this situation good for me? Am I going to be put in danger? Is my integrity going to be compromised? So you see in verse 10, we're told, and although she spoke to Joseph day after day, he would not consent to lie beside her or to be with her. So not only does Joseph immediately think beyond himself and stand by his convictions, when he realizes he is facing an almost daily potential temptation or threat that might cause him to sacrifice his own personal integrity, he avoids it. He finds a way out. There was an old TV show called Lost in Space, and there was a robot that used to warn, "Danger, Will Robinson." Most of you probably have never seen that show, but we may not have somebody to warn us of danger, but we do have God, and Joseph seeks to avoid danger. Not only will he not lie with her, Joseph does all he can in his power to not even be with her or be around her. And a lot of times we like to play with fire. We like to see how close we can get without getting burned when it comes to situations like Joseph is facing. And so maybe we keep communicating with someone. Maybe we keep texting with somebody. Maybe we use social media in a way that shouldn't be used because nobody will ever know. And we try to see how close we can get to that line without crossing it. And so I don't think Joseph, if he were to live in the social media world, that he would confirm Potiphar's wife's friend request. He would probably block her, maybe even delete her. And the last thing I want you to realize when we look at this story in regards to relentless integrity is that your integrity is valuable. Even with our pursuit of integrity, sometimes we will be falsely accused of wrongdoing. We might even lose our job. We might even lose some friends. But if we have our integrity, we still have something that is very, very valuable that not a lot of people can say they have. After being falsely accused and seemingly not being given the opportunity to defend himself, Joseph is thrown in jail. Verse 21 says, "But the Lord was with Joseph and showed his steadfast love. He gave him favor in the sight of the chief jailer." You see, God stands by people who have integrity like Joseph. God stands by people who have relentless integrity, who are relentlessly pursuing honesty in their lives. And before long, the prisoners are placed under his care, and the Lord blesses Joseph's work in that. And Joseph's reputation is enhanced. You see, God works through everything. Our integrity is valuable. We might go through some struggles. People might accuse us of doing something wrong, and maybe we didn't do it, but God is always with us in our pursuit of integrity. And so whenever you think about your own integrity, remember what the writer Thomas Paine observed. Character is much easier kept than recovered. You see, it takes years to build up trust. It takes years to work on this pursuit of honesty and to establish integrity. And just like that, it can be gone. Imagine what would have happened if Joseph had given in to Potiphar's wife's desires. His story wouldn't have ended the way that it did. He would have lost trust with all kinds of people. But God was able to deliver him because of his integrity, because he chose God over his own ways, because Joseph realized how valuable his integrity was, and because he avoided danger. A lot of times, we get this idea and we think, well, it isn't hurting anyone if no one knows. No one else will know, so it's not going to hurt anyone. And anytime we find ourselves having to make excuses for our behavior, I want you to listen to this. We have likely crossed a line of integrity. If you have to say to yourself, if it's not hurting anyone and no one will know, then you're putting yourself in danger. Your pursuit isn't integrity. Your pursuit is the world. And so it's a line that we're really better off not crossing. So as we close, I want to challenge you with this. Stay in pursuit of integrity. Be relentless. Be constant in your pursuit. Never give up. And remember the value of integrity next time you find yourself at a crossroads like Joseph did.